Hi, I'm Judge Penny Wolfgang. With Mother's Day coming, we will meet a noted Western New York author with the perfect book for sons and their mothers. I'm back from a trip with my daughter Robin from our bonding experience in Italy, and it's time for the Excellence in Education Awards, right here, right now, on the big picture. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. Jackie Albarella is well known throughout Western New York and beyond as an author, gardening expert, and Hall of Fame winning broadcaster. Jackie describes herself as a storyteller. Jackie's here with us to share what inspired her to write her sixth book, Sons and Their Mothers. We welcome Jackie Albarella to the big picture. Thank you. So before we get to our book, which we're going to talk about in a minute, there may be some viewers who don't know about your background and all that you've accomplished, and that you are in the Hall of Fame at broadcasting with you know who, and John and many others who I'm proud to be part of too. So anyway, a gardening expert, author. How do you do all that, and explain like all the different things that you do?
Well, I'm also very proud to be in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame with you
so
and John and all the other broadcasters that are in the Hall of Fame. I've been fortunate that I've been able to do a lot of different things. I've had a media production company for many years, and that really enabled me to produce videos for clients and documentaries. And then, you know, one year I said, gee, I have this production company and I love gardening, why am I not doing a gardening show? So I actually started to produce a gardening show, and I had a half-hour gardening show for probably 10 years that, again, I was lucky it aired locally, but then it also aired nationally. I was picked up at one point and I got to travel to London and spend 2 weeks in London visiting gardens there.
They have gardens in London?
They do.
I've been there. I never
out of the city. You got to go out of the city.
I never saw a garden in London.
Yeah, they have lovely gardens there. And so I did that, and then along the way I've written a few books, and now I'm still gardening and writing books and doing some documentaries.
You're just acting like it's nothing, like everyone can do this, but they can't, I assure you. All right, now how did you come up with the idea of the sixth book that we're talking about, Sons and Their Mothers?
Yep, so I had written a book about influential Buffalo women. And it was a collection of stories about women that were doing different things in the community for different charitable organizations. And I was at a luncheon where the book was being kicked off, and there was maybe 250, 300 women there. And Scott Beeler from the West Auto Group, great philanthropist, great friend of the community, sponsored that book. So he got up to talk about the women that influenced his life. And he started to talk about his mother. And when he talked about his mother, he talked about how his mother was soft-spoken and kind. And he said, and one of the things that his mother taught he and his brother was to respect everyone. No matter who they were, you should have respect for everyone. And he talked about how she used to invite the mailman in for a cup of coffee on cold days. And as I was looking around the room, and listening to him talk about his mother, there were all these women that started taking tissues out of their purse and wiping their eyes and sniffling. Definitely. And so I said, well, you know, there must be something to this. So I decided to find men and have them tell me about their relationships with their mothers. So that's how it started.
And that's how it started. But then that's really hard, the next steps to determine, which you did, where the diverse group of men come from, every walk of life, every profession, every race, creed, and color. I mean, it's amazing.
I started out with friends. So I started out with a couple people that I knew, and I got their story. And then, you know, as you start to work on a project like this, you talk about it to people, and then someone will say, well, you know, you should interview so-and-so because he has a great story. So I found other people that way. And then there were some other people that I really didn't know personally, but I knew they had an interesting story. So I reached out to them and said, I'd like to tell your story in my book. Will you talk to me?
And we've already mentioned Scott being the influence for starting the book. But for example, many people have seen DJ Milk perform at different functions for the Bills and private parties. Yep. But his mother was a well-known person in the community, so kind of that was maybe a no-brainer that you would find him?
Yeah, well, DJ Milk, his mother was Lorna Hill, who was fantastically talented actress, started her own theater company, was in films, was politically active. She was like a driving force for so many things. And his story was so sweet and so interesting because he talked a lot about what it was like. Even from a young age, he knew he was living with someone who would have a great legacy. And it's true, and she does have a great legacy.
Right. And not just in the Black community, but the theater world, the whole theater world knows Lorna Hill.
Yeah, she mentored.
And Ujima.
Yep, she mentored so many people. She gave so many people their start. And you know, even while she was building and starting Ujima, she also taught in the Buffalo Public Schools. She taught at the Academy for Performing Arts. So she was also influencing young actors and actresses before they were even leaving high school.
So now we mention Ken Manning, who is one of my oldest friends and one of the most well-known, respected attorneys in the community and in politics, and a community leader. I wouldn't have thought of him. How did you come up with him?
Yeah, well, Ken Manning, I met him through a different project that I was working on, and we got to be, we got to know each other. But Ken Manning, his story is so interesting. He actually studied and got a degree in engineering. And then after he got his degree in engineering, he went back and got a degree in law. So when he does certain legal cases, he's able to put all these really complex things together because of that background in engineering. But Ken, and also Ken grew up living in subsidized housing, living in the projects. But his father died when Ken was young. His father was a disabled veteran. And, but Ken's mother believed in education, and all of her children went to college. And Ken talked about how when he was younger, his mother made these fabulous cookies, and he called these cookies his cryptocurrency. And he could take those cookies to school and trade them for whatever he wanted in the cafeteria because everybody loved those cookies so much.
That's a really touching story, and
it is.
I don't want to forget to tell everyone that the recipe, you've got the recipe
yes,
in the
book,
recipe's
in the book.
If you know how to cook and you want to make these magic cookies, you've got to get Jackie's book, right?
Right.
There is an emotional story about former fire commissioner Garnell Whitfield, because his mother, I think we all know by now, was involved in the top shooting, and he's been in public crusading, and also I think he even wrote a book himself. So
he's working on the book.
For justice, yeah, he's working on a book.
Yeah, his mother was murdered during the Tops massacre, and Garnell is just a wonderful, wonderful person. And when I talked to Garnell about his mother, we didn't talk about Tops till the end. He talked about how his mother was a fantastic cook. And whenever anybody in the family would visit from another city, or every holiday, their house was where everybody came, and there would just be tons and tons of food that everybody would share. And he talks about his mother too, how his mother was, she held she made him toe the line in education. She went to school and followed up with school. If he wasn't doing good in school, she would, give it to him. But what is so wonderful about Garnell is, one of the things that impressed me the most is how he's been able to move on after such a horrible tragedy. How do you go on living? How do you not become bitter? And he has not. And his faith has played a huge role in that. His beliefs And he also talks a lot about how he doesn't want his mother to be remembered as a victim. He wants his mother to be remembered as a fabulous cook, a wonderful mother, a great homemaker, someone who cared about her children, someone who cared about the community.
I wondered, there's such a diverse group, as you pointed out, I wondered if there's any common thread or common theme that all of these different people, different walks of life and whatever, have together that struck you.
Yeah, I think the thread that ties all the stories together is that even though some of these mothers may not have been the good housekeeping mother, some of them had mental health issues, some of them had other problems, several of them lived in poverty. But you know what? These sons love their mother, and they will tell you they knew always that their mother loved them, no matter what. They knew that their mother loved them, and for many of them looking back, with mothers that maybe did have trouble, when they look back, they say, you know what? I know my mother did the best that she could.
Yeah, that is very surprising, but not really, because we know that people, no matter what kind of parents they are, people, boys, girls, men, women, they love their mothers. I mean, what was your relationship with your mother?
Oh, my mother, I loved my mother. She loved me, even though I think she liked my brothers better, and I always joked about how she loved my brothers better than her girls. But, you know, my mother was, I have some of my mother's traits. You know, she liked to cook, I like to cook. She didn't like to garden because she was born on a farm. And when she moved to Buffalo, it was like moving to the big city, and she didn't really want to go back to the farm. So when I gardened and I worked the land, she said, oh, you can do that. I don't want to do that. I did that enough when I was a kid. I don't want to be on a farm.
Maybe you got that, though, through the genes, or, you know, coming from a farm and being interested in that. I was shocked when I talked to you once before about the subject matter of your other books. They're so diverse.
Yeah, they are. They are. So I have a book on gardening. You know, it's just simple tips for the first-time gardener, for someone who's never touched a plant. These are just, for people like you. These are simple little tips and tricks. And I wrote it because right now, over the past, I would say 5 years or so, there's been a real increase in the interest of gardening. And people are starting to garden, but they've never gardened before. So they really don't, you know, you would think, oh, it might be simple. You just plant a seed and cover it with dirt and water it and it should grow. And some things are that simple, but many things are not quite that simple. And people want to know, how do I start? So this book is just a real simple how to start gardening. I love to give it to younger children, because I think, you know, gardening is one of those hobbies that you can do your entire life. Whether you're 6 or whether you're 60, you can still do gardening in one form or another. And it's a relaxing, it can be inexpensive, it doesn't have to be super expensive, and you can do it everywhere. Even if you don't have land, you can get a little pot and grow something in a pot on your balcony. A tomato plant if you want. So the book is to help people just get started.
And I think because you mentioned the new interest, it has to do a lot with people wanting to eat food, you know, fresh from the garden, or fresh from, not like me, just think it comes from the supermarket, or the flowers come wrapped in paper. You know, I don't know where they come from, but you know, I have a purple thumb.
Yes.
Okay.
But you know, for kids too, I mean, there are children who live in, you know, in the suburbs as well as the city, and they really don't know where carrots come from.
That's right.
And when you pull a carrot, because carrots grow underground, so when you're in a garden and you pull this, you know, you pull this carrot and it's coming out, and it's a carrot, and you wipe it off and you can eat it. It's like, holy mackerel, that's a carrot.
That's really also rewarding, I know, to grow something and then not to eat it or see it bloom, or, you know.
Yeah, and again, for children, it gives them something that they have to do. So right now they're responsible. You're going to need to water it. You're going to need to, you know, make sure it's getting enough water. It's not in too hot a sun. And then you've got to nurture it. It teaches them a little bit of nurturing. And then they get rewarded at the end.
Yeah, there's something at the end to eat or look at or whatever.
Yeah.
Where can we get all of your books? Because I know, as we said, there's 6 of them, and there's
Yeah.
the new one. Where do they find them?
All of them are online at my website. So it's www.Jackie Albarella, JackieAlbarella.com.
This sounds like a song.
Yeah, it does.
I think you've had to do that. You've had to do that a few times,
have.
right?
Yep.
Before to tell
Yeah,
the website. But also, are they locally somewhere?
Yes.
A person could walk in
Yeah,
and buy them.
go to the Bookworm in East Aurora. It's a gorgeous little bookstore there.
Talking Leaves, maybe?
Talking Leaves on Elmwood. Dog Ears Books in South Buffalo over by Mercy Hospital. So there's also a couple bookstores you can get them at.
Yeah, because some people, you know, we're trying to encourage
Yes.
people to buy locally, to
Yep.
shop locally,
And it's always fun to
to
go
grow
in these.
plants
Yeah.
locally. To grow
It's always fun to go into these local bookstores anyway, because you go in there and you'll find other things that just catch your eye that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
More interesting stories.
And your other books are so interesting. So Jackie Albarella, gardening expert, Hall of Fame broadcaster, author of Sons and Their Mothers, along with other books. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you on The Big Picture. We will be right back.